back again with another Kerby page. Now this is my favourite of Kerby's books, Mythomorphia. That's why I have got 2 copies. Now the reason that I have got both copies out is because this is the page that I'm going to do, but I have already completed this page, and now I did this right at the start of me doing art again. And I followed a tutorial by Colour with Claire for this background with Neocolor 2s. Now, I'd like to think that I've improved since doing this picture. So I want to do it again, but with my own colour background. Instead of using Neocolor 2s, I think I'm going to use Watercolour, because I'm a lot more confident with Watercolour than I am with Neocolor 2s. So, right, I can move that to one side now. Just pop it on the floor. And I was sitting here probably for about 10 minutes thinking, can I be really bothered doing all this, as in the liquid mask? But I think it's going to be worth it. I really do. I'm not going to put you through the whole process because I do think it's probably going to take me an hour, if not more, to go ahead and put it on all these little details. The bits like, you know, the stars that you can see, I might just leave them as is and then colour them in afterwards, depending what colour sky I go for, because I am hoping to have a dark-ish background. So where I'll start at the very top corner because that'll be easiest for me. And I've got these little silicone brushes, and I use these because once the silicone's dried it's so easy to get the masking fluid off. Which one did I like last time? I think it was this pointier one. But I've not tried this and I thought it'd be worth giving it a go. But these are nail art brushes, tools, like with the tiny little ends on them. And the lighting is terrible, it's so dingy today, so I am using my little lamps. But for like these areas here, I thought they'd be ideal, and it's not gonna destroy it because once it's dry you can just peel it straight off. So that's my idea there. To protect the pages behind, I'm going to use some fresh sheets. The sheets that I normally use. Now I have these linked in the description of nearly every single one of my videos now. I'll just put one on for now because I do get asked, and they protect the page nicely. So let's give this a mix. And again, I think I've linked this one on my channel before, and it's really inexpensive and it's one of the best ones. I've tried pens of all different sizes, and this is the best one by far that I've found. Right, as you can see, I've not used it for a little while. There's bits at the top that have dried. So my idea is I want to mask off. Ideally I'd mask off the whole thing, but if I do that I'm going to end up using the whole bottle, and I don't want to do that. So we'll just start and see. I'm sure I'm missing one brush though. I'm sure there was a pointier one. Maybe there wasn't, I'm not sure. So loading up the brush, I'm gonna have to call it a brush because I don't know what else to call it. A tool with quite a lot there. And I wouldn't worry too much if you go over, and I've started already at the wrong bit, so it's a good job that I've done that because I can show you now. Once that's dry you just peel it off. I was gonna say don't worry if you go over areas that you don't want to, because it just peels straight off. Just like this. I'm better off bringing you in slightly, aren't I? Wrong way. So I'm gonna have to wait till that completely dries now before I can mess with it. I might be able to get some of the excess off. Just like this. If you can hear banging, that is my daughter in her bedroom. She's watching Peter Rabbit, so she's having a good time up there. It will dry as well a little bit darker, which I find quite handy. I have tried some masking fluids in the past that are clear, and it's so difficult to see whereabouts that you've placed it. So I'm trying my best to get to the lines, but you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. I always say this, it is your colouring page. If you want to sit there and take your time and really get in every single nook and cranny, that's fine, but that's not me. That is definitely not me. but I just fancied another Kerby page. And then I did the T-Rex one way back when, and then I did it recently, well, a couple of months ago, and I love seeing the difference in my colouring skills, my art skills. So I thought it'd be fun and interesting to do one from the very start and pick my own colours for the background, because like I said, I did completely follow that tutorial from Colour with Claire. I didn't pick any of my own colours, so I just wanted to do that. So you get the idea with this. I'm just as carefully as I can without getting frustrated with it. Just going over the areas that I want to keep white. And I'll try that little tool now. Try it on the smallest side. Just dip it in. I might have put too much on there, but it should blend out. That actually works a treat. So this will be really good for your really fine details. Oh no, she's squealing. Yeah, that works really well actually. So all I need to do is just do that, and once it's dry you can feel it is like a rubber. So is this dried now? Almost there, it's gone a little bit harder. So I'll finish this off in my own time, because it is going to take me over an hour I think to do this, and then we'll come back with the next stage. I do want to get the background out the way first, because I plan on using ink tints for the griffin itself and possibly some watercolour pencils for the mountains. So definitely a mixed media page, definitely a colour me stress free page. So it'll be an hour for me and it'll be just a second for you. So I think I'm finally happy with that, with a lot of messing around. It didn't take as long as I originally thought. It took about 40 minutes. It was all these little details, and I ended up going over a couple of areas just to definitely make sure that it was protected. Now these are the watercolour paints that I'll be using. Now this palette I have made myself, and there's some Daniel Smith watercolours, some Winsor & Newton Pro watercolours, and just some, oh, what they call Paul Rubin. All that row there is Paul Rubin. I think I've got one, is it White Nights, because I wanted to test it. I might invest in a couple more of them, I do like them. Anyway, when I took that bit off, that I did a whoopsie right at the start, the paper wasn't too happy with me. Now I don't know whether that was because I didn't let it dry long enough, I don't know, but I've not gessoed this page. I've not done anything to it because I don't usually have a problem with Kerby books with water, but the way that I'm going to do it is work in sections. So we'll have this whole section, this is a section, and these here, and then move over to this side. Now I have pre-wet the colours, and I'm going for, it's gonna sound very weird, yellows, oranges and purples. That's my aim. Now I've not done the wet on wet technique in a little bit. This brush is fabulous for just getting the paper wet all over, and oval brushing #1, a Dale around it. And I did get this, words Deborah, I did get this from my local art store, just Hobbycraft. So let's get that wet, make sure my tissue is handy. And what other brushes do I want? I'm probably going to use, I've got a Caran d'Ache aqua brush that I've been really liking. No, that one's no good. I've got a couple of other Dale Around ones, that one I like. And then a smaller aqua brush, and this is one of the Zig ones, I do believe. Yeah, we'll see how we go with them. But this is another masking fluid pen, what I was talking about, what I've tried. And I've got one of my hairs on the end of it. And it does need a good mix, this, but I found that the ends damaged the paper really badly. Anyway, so I've got a slightly clean palette, and before, I'm just going to go straight in with the pigment. I'm not going to mix any colours, I'm just going to use what I have. So make sure the brush is completely wet, and wet this paper. Now you do want the paper just wet. You don't want puddles on your paper. Now I'm glad that I'm using the lamp actually, because if I move the lamp I'll be able to see better where I've placed the water. But it's fine if I get the water in these areas because there's no paint on it yet. So that looks alright to me. Like I said, I don't know how this paper is going to behave. It is a different boot to the other one. So let's just see. Let's wet this aqua brush. Make sure that it's on tight. And we'll start off with the yellow. And just pop that colour down. I should be able to just drag that over. So a little bit more. And I'm going to do this in layers. So it is going to take quite a few layers to get the effect that I'm after. Going with the orange. I do want a little bit more water in there actually. I want it a little bit more watered down. And doing the wet on wet, you're going to have the colours bleeding into each other. And because you've already put that masking fluid down, you don't have to worry too much about the edges. You can be a little bit more messy. Add a little bit more water. Now before I do the next layer, I'm going to make sure I leave this to completely dry. I won't use the heat gun, I don't think, because I don't want to curl the pages right at the start of me doing this. So we'll have to let it naturally dry. If you've got a nice day outside, pop it outside. That's what I was doing when we had the warm weather. I was putting it out on the table and it was dry within a few minutes. Add some more of this colour. Clean my brush off. I'm going to switch brushes now actually to the Delorano, which is slightly bigger, and go into this pinky purple colour. Now I do apologise, I don't know the names of 90% of these paints because I didn't realise you could take the stickers off and keep them when I'd purchased this palette, the bits to the palette, sorry. So you can see there that the colours are nicely bleeding into each other, and that's what we're after. So let's carry on adding the colour. I think I want to add a little bit of a darker purple as well, because this is more on the pinky fuchsia side. And I've missed a little bit there, so we're just going to do that in the purpley pink. Why not? So the dark purple, here we go. Let's carry on letting that all bleed into each other. Now the centre of here. Oh, we've got some more squeals. I think I might have to do this video over a couple of days, just so my daughter's not upstairs for ages and ages. Or I might be able to film tonight, maybe. So I'm happy with that layer. I'm not going to mess with that. Let's let that completely dry before. And the watercolours, I do need to mention as well, I keep knocking that lamp, they do dry lighter. So don't be surprised that when you come back in an hour or two that the colour has gone a little bit lighter. So in with the yellow. There should be enough of this just to pull over most of it. Into the orange. I will zoom in a little bit more when we get to this side. I just want to make sure that I'm happy with this. And then in with that pinky fuchsia colour. Shall I go down the centre? And we'll work from the top and then pull the colour down the centre like that. Clean the brush off and into the more darker purple. just like that. It's looking more red though there. Let's do this very bottom sections here. So there is 3 little sections. I should be able to do all at once. So you just wet with the over brush. Into the yellow. Into the orange. I think I need to fill these up. I bought them as tubes and then let them dry in the palette to make pans. And there's a few colours that are running a little bit low. And then the pink. A little bit too much there on that brush. Let's blend that. Let's go straight ahead into the darker one. And just leave that and let it do its thing. So let's move everything over. So I'm hoping that that's a little bit better zoomed in. So we'll do these little sections at the top there that I missed on that page. Might as well just keep that in my hand for now. And we need to pop the yellow down. The beauty is with watercolour, if you do get a little bit on the actual picture itself that you didn't want to, it's quite easy to go over with your colour pencils, depending how dark the colour is. Just like this. And then I'll add the purpley pink once we've done this bit. So this colour's probably going to run now into quite a large section, this as well. So back with the yellow. And then the orange. And that pinky purple colour, which I'm going to make it darker towards the top. Match that up. Don't forget to add a little bit on that side. And that very dark purple. Right, I think I'll be able to do these 2 sections together. It's going to end up looking like a burning sky. I can see it now. So I do need a little bit more water in my yellow. And the orange. I do want to add some splatters as well, but I don't know if I'm going to do that now. Let's add a little bit more orange there, or when the page is finished. I'm not sure. So the pink. I keep saying pink, but it's more purpley pink. See what I mean? I've got a little bit on there, but that'll be fine to cover up. And then in with the darkest purple. You're having a good dream there, Rollo. Sounds like it. I have to change my water, I think, in a minute. So these sections down here first. I'll have to push the paper up ever so slightly. It's difficult knowing sometimes when you're in frame. So in with the yellow. Onto the orange. And I'll leave that just for a second. We'll wet this side. That should be enough water, so I should be finished with that one now. So we need a lot of yellow on this one. Onto the orange. Add a touch of water. Then let's pop this colour down. And then with that lovely purple colour. And then same with this bottom area that I've not done yet. Right, I'm going to leave that a little bit there. Leave that to completely dry before I mess around with it again and change my water. Always make sure that you've got clean water. So it's actually a good few hours later now. I'm filming this now in the evenings. But it's fully dry. Didn't use any heat on it, but I am going to go ahead and add a couple more bits and bobs in certain areas. I'll zoom in ever so slightly just so I'm not having to move the boot around too much. I'm not adding loads and loads, but I need to wet my colours again. So it was the yellow, the orange, and then the two different purples. Like that, and wet both of my brushes again. I have got clean water, just dampen that off and then go over the top with the clean water. Now it will activate the watercolour again, so I'm being a little bit more careful this time. So with the orange this time, put that in a couple of areas. In with the yellow. I'm not adding loads and loads. I need it to be more vibrant than that, so I'm going to have to just give it a second. Just keep mixing it in the palette. That shouldn't be too bad. And I think a little bit down here as well. But more pinks, purples this time. Let's clean up my brush. And before I start doing any of the ink tints or the pencil work, I will have to wait for this to fully dry. Just a little bit there of this purple, just to break it up a little bit. Now that will bleed into the orange quite nicely. And then the pink. And some at the top. Some of that pink again. I really like that pink shade. It's more of a fuchsia colour. Really nice. And wet this area again. Now that has activated it loads, so clean it off again. Some more of this. Just to splash the colour through. And I think I'll probably got enough on the brush there not to add any more. Maybe a little bit of the darker one. So I did say that this is a process. I keep hitting that lamp. I'm going to have to figure out a way of still having decent lighting but not having that lamp right there. So I'll do this whole area. I don't feel the need actually to add. I might add a little bit of the orange to this side. Maybe. So more of that fuchsia colour. But this time, before I let it dry, I'm going to pop a little bit of salt on, which I didn't think about, but now that I'm looking at the page, I do want to add a little bit of that and let it dry. Some more of that orange up here, and some here. The salt on the page does give a really cool effect, actually. Right, so enough messing around with that. And get the salt out that I like using. You can just use normal table salt, but I do like this one, the coarse sea salt. And it might not work as well on this side because I started this first. I don't want to re-wet the paper again. But I'm just sprinkling it on, just randomly. And it will probably show up as well more on the darker areas. I think I got this off Amazon, so I will try my best to link it down below, because Amazon sometimes is temperamental, and some old stuff that you've bought doesn't show up on there. So it's just a case of letting that air dry again. Now this is probably going to be left for another hour or two before I get to sit down and film again. So yeah, it is a bit of a process, but it's definitely worth it. So we will zoom forward. So you wouldn't even believe me how many times I've sat down and said this intro again, but I've had to leave this overnight. I did use the heat gun and then I went to sit down and film, and anyway, you don't need to know all that. So we are at the point where we can take the salt off, and it's not done the effect that I wanted it to with me using that heat gun last night, so I'm kicking myself a little bit now. So I'm just using my fingers to take all this off. And if it was a nice day outside, I'd be doing this outside, just so I'm not making a mess everywhere. But it's alright, I'll just get the hoover out shortly. Get all these bits up. It has worked on certain areas, not too bad. But it's not worked as nice as I'd want it to. So lift the paper up and sprinkle it everywhere. Definitely going to be doing with the hoover in a bit. And there's still more left on. I am slightly worried about taking this masking fluid off, because I was doing a different picture last night and I was using this to take it off and it started ripping the paper. So I will use it here and see how we're going. If it starts ripping the paper, then I will just use my finger. But I'm wondering, it doesn't matter because if the acrylic gets on that, I think I'm going to do that towards the very end. Add some just acrylic, white acrylic splashes, but you've seen me do that loads and loads of times before. So let's attempt to take this off without damaging the paper. So far so good. Or should I just do it now and get all the background done? I think I'm just going to do it now. I think I'm going to do it now and then take all the masking fluid off. But I think that this should be alright on this paper. That other paper was a Hannah Curls on one, so I was very, very surprised. Right, I will be right back. So I've just popped the tiniest little amount of this Deco Arts white acrylic paint there. And I'm using this quite wide brush and I've wet it but took off the excess water, and then what I'll do as I'm going, I'll try my best to cover it up, the areas that I want covering. So I've got another sheet here that I can use, like these parts. I mean, it won't be perfect, but that's fine. So adding a little bit of water to this little dot of paint, just to get it a little bit more liquider, and it'll be easier for me to splatter, just like that. And then splatter the paint and then move this up. Don't want too much, that's not the idea here. I don't want loads and loads. If I want any bigger ones, I can add with a white gel pen or a Posca pen, whichever you've got. And then the very top of this side, just pop that over. Let's put a little bit more paint on. I'm not worried about the surface of my desk because as soon as I stop doing this, I'll just clean the desk just with water and it comes straight off, as long as you don't let it dry. So this bottom area, a little bit more paint. And if you use a bigger brush with wider bristles, you'll get bigger splatters. I just wanted really little fine ones. I can wipe my finger because I've got paint absolutely everywhere. So I'll have to let that dry again. I think I've said that about 1,000,001 times in this video, just let it dry, let it dry. But I will have to let that completely dry before I remove more of that masking fluid. Right, so I'm definitely happy with that now, after how many goes. So let's take this masking fluid off. Let's hope that the rest behaves like the start did. Yeah, I don't know what was going on with that Hannah Curls on book. Maybe it's because of so much water I put on the page. You'll see it anyway in an upcoming video whenever I get a chance to finish it. So this little contraption thing is literally just called a masking remover or masking fluid remover, I do believe. So onto the griffin. I really don't want it to mess his face up. And it has done. You see how it's pulled there? Oh no! Right, so let's try my finger and pull this way. I might be able to get away with it and draw it back in. Come on. Snap. Pull this way. think I'm having this issue lately because I'm putting too much of a thick layer down, maybe. I'm not sure. I'll carry on using my finger and see if that's any better. And it's doing it again there. So with or without the eraser, it is doing it. What about if I just try and pull? I desperately need to go to the nail place and get my nails took off. Maybe at the weekend. Yeah, so he's took that little bit of his beak off there, and then some of his feathers at the top here. So you are taking a risk using this masking fluid, but I don't have an issue at all with better paper, with like watercolour paper. So I'm even being gentle there, and it's pulling it off. So what I'll do, because it's going to take me probably 10 minutes or so to pull all this off, I will just fast forward me going through pulling all this off, because I am going to have to be quite careful. Right, so I think that's all of it off. Now, I didn't have an issue with this side as well. There's a tiny little bit there. I'll show you. If I just put my finger on it right there, there's a tiny bit, but it's not as bad as the other side. And I was quite harsh on this side as well, so I don't know what I did different. I really don't know what I did different. But this will just be how I do the background. I will film me colouring the griffin because I want to do him in Inktense, but just for now this one video will just be the background on how I did it. I do hope that you enjoyed it. Please do subscribe if you're new, and give me a big thumbs up, even for the little a petty like for losing my griffin's beak. I'm gonna have to draw that back in. I'm not sure what sort of fine liner to use with that, because I don't want it to be too bold. Maybe I'll have to pencil it anyway. Anyway, I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.